concern which we need to kind of seek answers to. If that is in place, I don't see any other fears that seem to be impending anymore.
Okay, so don't see any other fears. Amit, this Maruti has sort of set a precedence with this particular new business model where its parent company will be setting 100% subsidiary, etc. Initially, there was a lot of apprehension, but now do you think it will become easier for shareholders to digest business models like these? Or do you think that once again, because there is a question arising of whether other companies tomorrow, say a Hero MotoCorp does something like that, then what do you do? But now do you think it will be more palatable for shareholders to accept these kind of models?
So that is always going to be a challenge, and I guess it depends on the circumstances. So one of the things you need to remember which has happened in this case is that it is a parent which has deep pockets and a lack of absence in its home market, and therefore they have an absence of investment opportunities in their home market, and which is why they've been able to invest in India. I think we are going to see some of that happen with multinationals, and we've kind of continued to see it happen when Hero and Honda decided to go their own separate ways, and it was Honda which set up their facilities. You see that happening with some of the other companies where they kind of carve out a business which is being set up by the parents. I don't think we've ever seen it happen on this scale, and of course that is one of the things which I'm sure global boards will also take note of and say that, look, this is an opportunity. You need to remember that from their perspective, having a listed Indian entity adds to the complications rather than make things easier for them, and therefore some of them might say that, okay, this is now a very real option which is presented to them, and they might go down that path. And that, of course, again is one of the reasons why we were saying that shareholders should not support this, because if nothing else, it sets a fairly bad precedent for the market.
All right. In fact, we have one more comment coming in. Mr. J.N. Gupta, who's the co-founder and managing director of Stakeholders Empowerment Services, is also joining us now. Mr. Gupta, this is a resounding vote of confidence to Maruti, and the sense that we're getting from a lot of the interactions that we've just had is that it will not have any major negative impact on the financials. So shareholders are quite convinced of that. Your reaction?
See, first reaction I would give that if you see the result, as Mr. Bhargav said, that 90% have voted in favor and 10% have voted against. But I find that around 85 lakhs votes were invalid votes. So we are wondering that how come such a large number of invalid votes are there. But either way, whether these votes were for or against, the result would have been the same. Now, resounding result, I would say that it is mainly because of the two international advisory companies also supporting the transaction, and most of the FIIs, as we have seen, votes according to what is the recommendation of proxy advisory abroad. Unlike in India, where each mutual fund and insurance company take their own call regardless of what the proxy advisory firms have recommended. In India, as you have seen, that two of us, my friend Amit had recommended against and we had recommended for. So I would say that we respectively differed from each other, and each one has a different thought. But I never saw there was anything negative for the shareholders. Right from beginning, we have been in favor of the transaction, because we found that this is just giving additional benefits to the shareholder for whatever reason. But we could guess the reason was that in Japan there was a 0% interest rate, and in India, even after sharing the interest or benefit with the shareholders, they will be still having a 3.5 to 4% post-tax earning. Having said that, Amit has raised a point that this could be a thing for the future. Yes, his apprehension could be correct, but then the apprehension is the declaration at the time of transaction itself is that in future, if that all this company is to be sold, if the subsidiary is to be sold, it will be sold at book value to the Maruti. Any change in that plan should be opposed by the shareholder, and secondly, if they still do something hanky-panky, there could be a fraud against the shareholder, and that shareholders can always move. But we cannot say no for the something which is likely to happen in future, for which there is no roadmap made. So it is only an apprehension at best, and I agree that I could also have this apprehension, but there has to be safeguard built against all those apprehensions in the minds of the shareholders.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in. Before we wrap up, if I could go one last time to Amit. Amit, are you convinced now that there's nothing negative for the shareholders in that case?
Look, at the end of the day, we've had a view. We've kind of stuck to it for about almost 2 years, and therefore there's a difference in the strategy. We are not actually at this moment quibbling on whether it is going to be, the returns are going to be 12% or 15%. That was never the basis. The view is it's unnecessarily, our view was it's unnecessarily complicating the business. You don't find someone who has the 55% market share kind of following the strategy. But having said so, I guess you know, this vote at the end of the day marks a new beginning for Maruti. They have over the past 25-30 years been responsible for putting India on the global auto map, and I must say that Mr. Bhargav is single-handedly responsible for doing so. His role in the initial years of the company when it started to ensure that where it is today he's played a fairly formidable role in the company, and this is a vote for a new beginning, and it's actually important to see how the company progresses given this new responsibility and the new complexity to the business, and how they perform, and whether they would be able to beat their track record for the first 30 years, and that is what is going to determine whether things, you know, the share will continue to be loved or not by investors going forward.
All right, gentlemen, it's a landmark day for sure. Amit Tandon, Prakash Diwan and Jayan Gupta, along with my colleague Sunesh Shenoy, thank you so much for joining in with that.